Good evening, I'm Shane Jones, leading the news at 7. The first set of voters in this year's election cast their ballots in today's special poll. Dozens of police officers and election workers reported to polling stations across the country's 30 constituencies to exercise their right ahead of next Thursday's general election. When our cameras went to polling stations in the St. Michael area, there were very few voters there, but election officials say many of them came out early. Now, just before midday at the Barbados Community College in St. Michael East, voters were still trickling in. By midday at Bethel Methodist, many of them had already exercised their right. Voting began at 7 this morning and ended this evening at 5. Campaign manager for the Democratic Labour Party, Robert Bobby Morris, has hit back at opposition leader Mia Motley for leaking his party's manifesto at a political meeting last night. He says the move sends signals that the public should be wary of and is wondering what she is trying to prove.
We have seen the leader of the opposition publicly showing possession of the DLP's manifesto, and that reminds us of a propensity in our country to display cabinet documents that are leaked and to display other official documents without identifying the source of how the person using the documents secured the documents. I do not know how the leader of the opposition got hold of that document, and I'm not accusing her of anything except breaching a custom and a practice, a matter of propriety. What are you trying to prove?
With opinion polls set to be released shortly, Mr. Morris is reminding Barbadians not to fall for the results.
The only poll that matters is taking place on the 24th of May. And we are calling on all Barbadians, but particularly those people who support the Democratic Labour Party, not be perturbed about the polls. If they say that we're winning, come out even more in your numbers. If they say that we're losing, don't believe them, because that is the intention that might be in the minds of some persons.
Prime Minister Ferndale Stewart says allegations of corruption against the ruling Democratic Labour Party remain unproven. He was speaking last night in Pye Corner during a meeting to endorse DLP's St. Lucie candidate, Dennis Kelman.
The Prime Minister says his challenge to accusers to expose the so-called corrupt minister or ministers has not been taken up. He further dismissed the idea, noting Barbados has one of the best rankings on the Transparency International Index.
So I say to them, if you have evidence of corruption, don't bring it to me. Go to the DPP and let whoever the minister is that is corrupt face the music of prosecution. Now, not a name has been called, not a word has been spoken, and in fact, in this campaign, you have not been hearing as much about corruption as you were hearing before this campaign started. You have not been hearing it because they know that it was not true.
The Prime Minister intends to speak up more about the opposition leader.
She is to say whatever she likes about people. She is to stain people's reputation at will. But if you dare say anything about her, as the old Barbadians used to say, you break master dish. But I do not feel so inhibited. As I said, the only thing they haven't said about Ferndale Stewart is that he's man born of woman.
Meanwhile, Dennis Kelman has defended his 24-year track record in St. Lucie. He says constituents have benefited from land, recreational areas, and better access to beaches. He has also announced developmental plans for the area of Little Bay, which he believes is a prime area for community tourism.
We can't allow people to come down here and utilize our resources, and we do not tap into it. When we got people, about 5 or 6 people making special soaps in St. Lucie and doing other things. So what we will do again, we will go up there under RDC and ensure that the facilities are put up there. And we will also protect the environment. Because as it stands right now, There are certain people who go up there and drive and destroy, create degradation up there. And we will correct that. Because when they come, they will have to park. Yes, they will have to park. And then they will either use their tour guides or use our tour guides, because we will create employment up there for the youngsters in the area.
The DLP's campaign goes into high gear tonight with the launch of its manifesto. Rianne Phillips, Cbc News.
Barbadians are being encouraged to consider the trade-off if the Barbados Labour Party were to deliver on its promise of raising non-contributory pensions. This warning from Democratic Labour Party candidate for St. James Central, George Connolly. He was also in St. Lucie.
Right now, pensioners get free bus fare. When you get the 225, will you lose that? Ask yourself that question. The National Assistance Board comes out to those who are in need, the indigent, and they offer assistance in the household. When you get that, will that disappear? They provide food, clothing, the UDC, the RDC. They repair your homes. They repair the roadways. They put systems in place for those who are handicapped or in any way impaired. Will that disappear when you get 225?
BLP leader Mia Motley says Barbadians seeking to advance themselves have been met with obstacles instead of opportunities in the last 10 years under the Democratic Labour Party administration. She says the BLP's candidates contesting the general election are therefore committed to representation to create more opportunities for Barbadians. She made the comment as the party mounted its platform at Silver Hill Christchurch in support of their candidate for Christchurch West Central, Adrian Medic Ford. More from Ryan Broom.
In addressing the crowd, Barbados Labour Party leader Mia Motley knocked the DLP administration for its handling of the transfer of ownership of National Housing Corporation units to tenants. She says far too many obstacles have been placed in the path of some tenants instead of opportunities.
People will lose faith in this very society. And then when you look upon it, they then go into the households and hear their parents complaining, yes, they're supposed to give us these housing units. But I know from canvassing this very street with Adrian that in many instances the electrical provisioning not taken care of. Same problems that you have in Haynesville. You can't give people a gift and then when they check the gift ain't worth what you say it worth.
Meanwhile, the BLP leader also asked residents to weigh the two candidates contesting the seat, noting that she sought out Ford to be the party's representative because he truly cares about the people of the constituency, having come from among them. She adds that they ultimately have a choice between one candidate who is committed to representation of the people, while the other candidate is more concerned about reputation.
You have to decide whether reputation can put food on your table or the man committed to representation can put food on your table. You have to decide whether the man committed to representation can make a case for your grandmother and grandfather. You have to decide whether the man committed to reputation is more interested in a gold crown of merit or making a case for pensioners' increase in this country.
Meanwhile, candidate for the constituency Adrian Medic Ford says he is seeking to continue the work that he has already started over the years to uplift residents by becoming their parliamentary representative.
Give me an opportunity to intensify my programs across the board. Give me an opportunity, ladies and gentlemen, to bring this constituency to the precipice of representation. I want you to let me continue to be your spokesperson. Let me continue to be that person who holds you hand in hand in your journey. Let me, ladies and gentlemen, just continue to do the work to make this constituency the most self-sufficient, to bring about global citizens from Christchurch West Central.
Ryan Broom, CBC News.
Barbados Labour Party St. Michael's Central candidate Arthur Holder says between 2010 to 2016, there's been an increase of poverty of 2.4%.
The rate of poverty in this country increased from 15.1% to 17.5%. I want you to understand that. if you do a little mathematics, that is an increase of about 2.4%. And that is 2.4% of 275,000 people in this country, which gives you in excess of 6,000 people that during the tenure of the Democratic Labour Party from 2010 to 2016 saw that increase.
More taxation shouldn't be the focus of any political party at this time if Barbados is to recover from its current economic status. That's according to leader of the United Progressive Party and candidate for the city, Lynette Eastman. She was speaking at the Spot meeting in Carrington Village last night. Ms. Eastman, who was responding to the Barbados Labour Party's manifesto plan to replace road tax with a tax on gas, said the next government should instead be facilitating more startup enterprises and expanding the creative sector.
As far as governments are concerned, they collect taxes from a variety of places, and where there are, usually doesn't make a difference. But these are the kinds of things that people are discussing on the platform, instead of telling you how we are going to get the economy turning again, and that creative economy is the solution, part of the solution. The other part of the solution is to get the tourists to spend more money in Barbados by providing them with authentic things to eat and to buy, and stop expecting that people who come from Europe will be happy with a land bag when they can get better leather goods in their own country.
Ms. Eastman also said corruption had no place in the governance of a small island like Barbados. She contends that it was directly linked to the current economic issues facing the island.
When you keep thieving, you keep carrying up the debt to GDP ratio. That is what happens. Now, what happens when that happens? It means that in some instances, the loans that we have, the interest rates go up. With the downgrades, you get an increase in interest rates. When the interest rates go up, it means that our debt profile becomes worse. When our debt profile becomes worse, people think that Barbados is a risky place to invest in. Our expenditure continues to increase.
A reduction of the importation of cars can save Barbados millions of dollars in foreign exchange. That assertion from United Progressive Party candidate for St. Michael's South Central, David Gill, during a Spot meeting at Carrington Village last night. Gill says an estimated $300 million is spent on importing vehicles into the island, which under the UPP would be drastically cut. He suggests that some of that money could be used to fund the education of more young people interested in the area of auto mechanics.
Cut the percentage to 5% in the first month and 0.5% in the other 11 months, bringing it to almost 10%. And you will save $30 million. $30 million in a year. And if you multiply that by 5, that is $150 million in the lifespan of Parliament. What will you do with that money? We have young men who like mechanics, but they are not qualified.
Gill also charged that approximately $800 million is spent importing food into the country.
What I eat today and what I ate yesterday and what you can eat tomorrow, and when I sum it up in a year and I multiply it by 210,000 people, you can't find that 800 million. But that $800 million is in some exotic food. I know they will say the hotel industry, but there's a part of the year that that industry is low. You just call in the fellas and tell them, look, you see this 800 million? I want to be able to get foreign exchange to buy the medication for the little children with asthma, the old people with glaucoma and sugar and blood pressure.
Solutions Barbados didn't have any meetings last night. Okay, we'll take a short break here and come back with more news. It's a scenario that could have ended tragically. The brakes of a full tour bus failing while going downhill. But as we hear from reporter Rianne Phillips, no one died or was seriously hurt in St. Joseph when that bus struck a wall this afternoon.
33 passengers from the cruise ship Freedom of the Seas were on board this bus when the brakes failed while descending Cleavers Hill. Thankfully, no one was seriously hurt. Passengers and eyewitnesses heaped praise on the driver Hamden Clark and tour guide Alison Trotman Ewers for their efforts.
The driver was driving, really safely. So he maneuvered around, veered to the right, and then banked over to the left and went into the wall to slow us down. And that's, honestly, a lot of us are saying that saved us. He's a good bus driver. And he and the tour guide calmly, settled everybody down. And so it was not a terrible day as it could have been.
We hear buses come down the hill every day, and I knew that one sounded too fast. And when I looked out my window, I saw it careening down the hill, and I heard it crash, and I just threw on my slippers and ran over here to see if everybody was okay. I couldn't believe the bus was still standing. I thought for sure that was going to flip over.
The CEO of Foster & Inks, Martin Inks, is also lauding the driver and tour guide.
All of the passengers praised the driver, Hamden. Hamden has been driving with Foster & Inks for at least close on 12 years and never had a major accident. And certainly all of the guests were very thankful and congratulatory on the way he handled it. Knowing that the brakes had failed, he used his experience and he actually went into one of the walls coming down the hill and actually stopped the bus as he interacted on a parallel basis with the wall coming down the hill.
There were no major injuries from the accident. However, 2 people were taken to the QEH.
I understand that there are minor injuries, but it was precautionary to send the guests down to the hospital in the 2 ambulances. All of the other guests had minor injuries, scrapes and what have you, and they were all seen by the emergency services. If I can just say, certainly, as soon as I heard the accident in town, I came out, and certainly, from all reports, the emergency services have been phenomenal.
Mr. Inks has also thanked the residents who assisted after the accident. Rianne Phillips, Cbc News.
Police are on the hunt for a man who escaped their custody yesterday afternoon. Reports indicate that 24-year-old Rodney Darian Clark of 6B Bottom Close Wildy St. Michael escaped police custody about 5 p.m. yesterday along St. Michael's Row. Clark is about 5 feet 4 inches tall. He has a brown complexion and brown eyes, small nose, lips and eyes. He has 4 tattoos, one with his left arm with the name Najalia. The 3 tattoos on his right arm, one with the words "Only God Can Judge Me," one with a baby holding a cross, and one with the name Najalia. At the time, he was wearing a gray t-shirt, a maroon long jeans and slippers. Anyone with knowledge as to the whereabouts of Rodney Darian Clark should contact the nearest police station or police emergency at 211. The public is reminded that it is a serious offense to harbor or assist wanted persons. Any person caught committing this offense can be prosecuted. The Barbados Investment and Development Corporation is playing its part in wooing foreign buyers for locally made products. The BIDC has done so through its annual Buyers Program brunch at Bagnall's Point Gallery located in Pelican Center, Bridgetown. 10 regional and international buyers from countries and territories including Jamaica, the United Kingdom, Antigua and Barbuda, Martinique, Suriname, the Cayman Islands and the British Virgin Islands are on island to engage in networking and business-to-business meetings and sample 100% Barbadian manufactured items. For Chief Executive Officer Sandra Trotman, she says it's important local goods are pushed on the world stage.
Buyers program has been very useful and very successful because what it does, it brings the buyers to Barbados on the occasion of BMEX, where they see what Barbados has to offer in general, but the BIDC, we also link up these buyers with companies. So even before they get here, there's a schedule. So they've been having meetings yesterday and today, and it develops relationships which assist buyers in the region and elsewhere, not only to see products, but to make orders. And we have seen in several areas where the buyers program has helped to expand the exports of products.
Ms. Trotman says the buyers program will continue as it's integral to the development of Barbadian products and services. She adds that the demand is high for Barbadian products.
Food and beverages, as you would have heard here this morning, several of the buyers are interested in food and beverages and household products. And we've continued to see increases in exports from our food and beverage sector. There's some other areas where, like chemicals, where we have seen some increases in export, and even in the area of building materials.
Over the next 2 weeks, more than 200 eye care professionals from Barbados and the region will undergo training as the Orbis Flying Eye Hospital makes its 24th mission to the region. Our Sharika Griffith was on hand for a tour of the plane that was parked at the Grantley Adams International Airport.
The mission will involve training for resident and consultant ophthalmologists, ophthalmic nurses, and anesthetists from the Queen Elizabeth Hospital. They will be joined by colleagues from across the region, though on a smaller scale than originally expected, due to the devastation caused by Hurricanes Irma and Maria. At least 100 patients will also be examined, with another 40 scheduled to undergo surgeries, laser treatment, or receive medication.
In the first week, the program will take the form of simulation, and in the second week, the focus will shift and be on in vivo training in the specialties of cataract, glaucoma, and strabismus surgeries, and medical retina. Patients of the Queen Elizabeth Hospital will benefit from having problems in these areas addressed by local specialists under the tutelage of Orbis International Team.
Chief Medical Officer Dr. Kenneth George says the training will help to build greater capacity within the polyclinic system and the Queen Elizabeth Hospital.
The conference will provide additional skills and education for the continued delivery of safe, high-quality, patient-centered ophthalmic care. Staff will be better equipped to work as part of a multidisciplinary team. Other benefits to staff and the Queen Elizabeth Hospital will include the maximization of staff potential through the development of a skill set which allows for mentorship and coaching of junior staff.
The training conference comes at a time when the ophthalmology department at the QEH continues to face challenges, particularly with its supply chain, which leads to cancellations and long wait time for surgeries. CEO of the hospital, Dr. Dexter James, says the facility is moving to have several fully functioning operating suites by the final quarter of this year.
The department has recently presented its business case for improvement to the board, which calls for the recommissioning of the eye theaters on the 3rd floor of the Lions Eye Care Caribbean Center. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm happy to announce this morning that approval has been granted for the recommissioning of these theaters and the restoration of our recovery rooms at the Lions Eye Care block.
The ophthalmology department at the QEH has a team of 12 consultants who perform close to 1,400 surgical procedures and facilitate some 16,000 outpatient visits each year. Sharika Griffith, CBC News.
The 10th Annual European Film Festival is underway. The event was officially launched last night at the Olympus Theatres. The festival has showcased about 145 movies from 22 European countries over the past 9 years. This year it will run for 2 weeks until May 30th, and all movies are free. Head of the EU delegation to Barbados, Ambassador Daniela Tramachere, says the festival is not just about movies but business. She says there are major opportunities in the European Partnership Agreement and people should make the most of them.
As part of the protocol and hence of the EPA, as I said, the European Union grants market access in the entertainment and creative industries. And this is complemented also by another provision, which is the UNESCO Convention on Cultural Diversity. This boils down and equates to better conditions for service providers as it relates to movement of personnel, co-production, market access. So special provisions have also been put in place for the audiovisual sector, and this is what we're talking tonight, such as film. But beyond film, this also includes music, performing, and visual arts, as well as cultural heritage.
After the break, we'll check in with some of our regional neighbors.